Awesome. So everybody, yeah, I'd love to go ahead and kick it off and introduce Josh here, who will be leading our webinar today. So a few of you, like we mentioned, we have some customers on the call here, and just LiveFlow community members in general. So you may be familiar with Josh, but if you're not already, Josh is our senior product and modeling specialist. He is truly an expert in everything spreadsheets, modeling, dashboards, all of that good stuff. Josh has 3 years of experience at JP Morgan trading securities, brings incredible knowledge and insight from that industry specifically. I know I personally lean on him every day to try to understand different things, or for the most basic formulas that I need to, build different lists that are very having nothing to do with accounting whatsoever. So he's a very, very smart guy, and really excited for him to walk through how you can really level up your accounting practice with a few different best practices, workflows, technologies. Just learn a little bit how he spends his time every day building really expert custom models and dashboards and beautiful templates for our customers here at LiveFlow. So with that, Josh, I'll leave it to you to kick it off and get started on the presentation.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael. That was a very, very kind introduction. I just do some stuff in spreadsheets. That's pretty much what I do more today. Yeah, no, I appreciate that introduction. My name is Josh Thomas. I joined LiveFlow in September, and I've had a great experience since. And perhaps my favorite part is interacting with our customers on a day-to-day level. My specific role has kind of changed over time, I would say, in that I kind of love to wear multiple hats. And it started out as building models and being on the support channel, and making sure that if there's a template that I can help out with, or whatever it may be, that I can assist with that. And then I leaned in a lot more towards the customer success end and building the products that you want to see. And I'm excited to kind of showcase to you how technology and how what LiveFlow is built can help you. But the main focus for this webinar is tech and automation. And there's a lot of things that we're going to cover. One is why it's important. The second, we're going to actually look at the different ways LiveFlow can help you do that. And then lastly, I think it's always good to actually showcase to you how can you build something from scratch. So I'm going to try, or at least attempt, to build a dashboard for a restaurant client live on the call, and show how LiveFlow can automate some of that process so that you have the ideal monthly reporting package. But to take a step back, why I think tech and automation is really interesting to me, and why it fascinates me is in part what I saw at prior to this. Michael mentioned I worked at JP Morgan, and specifically there I was on this trading desk called interest rate derivatives. Quite frankly, it's like a past life for me, but I spent about 3 years there. And I got to see at the largest investment bank what technology means and what it can do to transform a business. Granted, accounting firms are a little bit different in size, but nonetheless, the impact of technology, I think, can be used here. Maybe to I guess kick it off, the one piece of technology that was so incredibly important for any trader or salesperson, or any client in that industry, was this technology called Bloomberg. I'm sure maybe some of you guys have heard of it. Bloomberg in itself, what it does is it allows you to essentially see the markets throughout the entire day and get real-time information about what's going on. If COVID hits, or if a certain inflation reading hits, then you're able to see very quickly how the market is reacting and make quick decisions based on that. I bring that example up because the firm, at least when I found out, wow, the firm pays $25,000 a seat every single month. Every single year for this piece of equipment, and there's 400, 500 people. How in the world does this make sense to invest this much technology? I guess on a monetary level, but in the grand scheme of things, the ROI is there, and I think that that's one of the things that I want to kind of highlight for this webinar is if technology meets the return that you're looking for, then it makes worthwhile to invest in that technology. And so working there and kind of seeing how much technology can do. They spend $10 billion in technology every single year, or beyond that. But for an accounting practice, it may be something, maybe you're the first time you're actually the first time that you're actually looking to automate a certain process where LiveFlow can help out with, or you're actually a seasoned customer and you're looking to how can I automate more. So with that said, I'm actually going to kick off with the presentation so that we can kind of see what we're going to cover here. And let me know. Let me confirm here for me if you're seeing the screen here. It should be a PDF.
Yep, we're good.
Perfect. Okay, so the first part is tech and automation, why it matters, and who to choose. I mentioned this example of a large bank, but I think it absolutely matters when it comes to your accounting practice or for your in-house finance team as well. There's three few buckets that I want to kind of highlight just to frame the discussion. One is accuracy, the second is stability, and the third is time optimization. So accuracy in the sense that you may be doing a very, at times, a very repetitive process potentially, and every job has that to a certain degree. That may work for a certain amount of time, but as soon as you start to scale your practice, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Right. So with accuracy, what you want to do is avoid fat finger mistakes, as I call it. Right. And the way we're able to do that with LiveFlow is you're going to see within our product how, without even doing anything, as long as you've connected your account to LiveFlow, we're able to directly retrieve the information from your QuickBooks. And so whenever a user comes to me and says, I'm having an issue or the LiveFlow data is not feeding properly into my workbook, in all likelihood, in my sense, it's most likely not the case that it's coming from a LiveFlow report. It's probably some additional formula, whatever it may be, that's not pulling that information. So accuracy is that first bucket. The second is scalability. What I mean by scalability is it depends on what type of client or what type of role you have. Right, I'm sure in this webinar we have a wide variety of people. One who's a bookkeeper who may have 10 clients right now but looking to scale to 100. Another may be a fractional CFO creating these bespoke reports that are very customized for their clients. But nonetheless, I think there is some level of scalability that you can provide so that you're able to grow more rapidly and essentially make more on your time essentially. Right. And so for a bookkeeper, that may mean creating that monthly reporting package. Let me make that, let me find my niche. Maybe it is restaurants. And I want to create a dashboard that is ideal for restaurants. And I love it. And I know that the two people that I tested out this dashboard with, they love it. And so now I have, 100 other restaurants that I'm, talking to that need help with their financial reporting. I just need to scale this report across all my other restaurant clients. On the other hand, if you're a little bit more tailored, if you're a fractional CFO or in-house finance team, maybe it is the case that you have like a cash flow forecasting model, and you have these specific customizations. But how can I make this as dynamic as possible so that when I want to scale it and use it for other types of clients, and I'm creating customized reports for them, how can I make it easy for not just myself to use it, but also for any other users that are using this model as well? And then the last part, I think the most important part potentially, right, is if you're running a business, is how can I make sure that I'm using my time effectively? The goal of tech and automation in part is to free up time so that you can go out there and actually gain more business, right? Or whatever it is that you could do otherwise, besides doing these very repetitive tasks. All of this here, we have these bullet points and so forth, but that is the core of why technology is important. Is it allows you to get accurate information. It allows you to scale your practice from 1 to 100 or beyond, right? And it also allows you to, better bang for your buck, as what I'll say, so that you can actually focus in on potentially the more advisory element of it, where clients are not just asking for your reports, but now you actually have more time in the day to say, okay, these numbers are interesting, and this is what the report is. But now how can I make a dashboard so that I can analyze this information very quickly as soon as it's available, and then go into the meeting with a very comprehensive view of what the next month or 2-3 months should look like to kind of help the bottom line. The next thing that I want to kind of highlight is who to choose. And I think this is a very, very important one. I think if I may, indulge in a quick story here, which is, who to choose as your software partner, but I'll use an analogy to kind of make this a little bit more clear. right now, if you're a new prospect, you may be seeing a lot of different softwares out there that can do somewhat similar things. There may be one has certain functionalities, but others that are specific to one specific platform. But to share a quick example of why it's important to choose, a software provider, I'll indulge you guys in a quick story. My brother's getting married later this year in July. And I'm the best man, thankfully. And he asked me, "Hey, Josh, I'm going to go get my tuxedo. Can you help me out?" And so, the first place we went to is Men's Warehouse, and not to, throw shade at Men's Warehouse, but essentially what happened is, we went there and they said, "Okay, we've got these off the rack suits. We can alter it here and there. And at the end of or right 3 days before the wedding, we can actually make we'll actually deliver the suit to you." I was like, "Oh, it's pretty strange that they do that, but that is their business model, and it's fit. Yeah, what is it called? Off the rack, right?" And then we went to another place, which was Enzo Suit Supply, right? And here I am advertising for them, I guess. But essentially, what they said is they don't do rentals; they just purchase the suit, and also the fact that they make it so that the suit is tailored just for you, right? And so they do all the measurements, and you have to pay a premium for it. How the heck does this matter for software? Well, the truth is in a similar but different way, there are probably softwares that can do similar things for you. But I think one of the elements that I think makes LiveFlow very successful is the customer success element, and making sure that we tailor what we're doing for you through our customer success. And I think somebody had mentioned it in the chat as well. Those onboarding sessions are meant so that we figure out what exactly is the report that you're trying to build, and then let's figure out how we can make sure that you're set up for success. What we'll cover today, I covered this already, but essentially we're going to look at a monthly reporting package, how we can create it, how can we create a package that I'd like to call potentially, and maybe I shouldn't use this word, but idiot proof, in the sense that there's, with minimal touch points, you're able to create the desired report. The next thing is advantages of using LiveFlow named ranges. You're going to see what that means. Standardized chart of accounts with LiveFlow products. That's something that we actually just released. And then the rinse and repeat for the next client. So that once you create that dashboard, that monthly reporting package, how can I then scale this across to all my next few clients? Okay, I know we're 15 minutes in. So what is LiveFlow? LiveFlow, in short, is an financial automation platform that directly connects with your QuickBooks, so that you can create customized reports within Excel and Google Sheets. And we're going to be able to see that live on a dashboard. LiveFlow products and features that help you scale. I think it's better actually when we go into the dashboard and seeing how this works. But the first one is swap company. What you'll be able to do is, once you build that ideal dashboard, I'm going to show you then how to swap the company, so that within one click, you don't need to recreate the wheel for this next client. Hourly refresh, right? How does LiveFlow help you scale? Well, in part, it means that there's less touch points that you need to make with your client. And so, if you're an existing customer, if you give your client the viewer permission, the workbooks automatically refresh every single hour by default. You can change that, of course, but what that allows you to do is then it allows your clients to gain the information they need to without having to contact you for every single small item. Single entity rollup, that's a standardized chart of accounts that we're going to discuss. Consolidation, and then drill down. Drill down is essentially you're able to look at each individual account, and by just hovering over the cell, we're going to take a look at this. You're going to be able to see all the underlying transactions associated with it. Okay, so the crux of one of the things that I want to cover today is how can LiveFlow help you scale your practice, right? And technology and automation, why that's important. And I thought that there's no better way to actually showcase this than through potentially a live example. And dashboards is something that a lot of our clients have kind of said, I would love to create this type of dashboard. How can I do so with LiveFlow? Our other competitors, right, they may have some type of platform, and that may be great in certain respects. And we're actually also in the works of something of our own. But one of the cool things about spreadsheets that I love is that if you can imagine it, you could probably build it, right? And with this specific example, what I'm going to put to you is, if I was an accountant, for instance, and I had, 1 hour to prep something before a call, right, with somebody within that industry, how could I think about creating a dashboard using LiveFlow? So here's the scenario. The scenario is you've been asked by restaurant ABC to help them understand their financial health. Restaurant ABC has asked if you can help them monitor key metrics such as prime cost, gross profit, and total income. They not just like a snapshot of their current period, but would like to see how the performance compares to the previous month and year. Restaurant ABC states that they know 10 plus restaurant owners who may be interested if your package is appealing to them. Objective, you got to create a monthly package that is dynamic and scalable. So how can we do this? So that's the scenario. And what I'm going to do actually next is actually flip over to our a blank Google spreadsheet to go through it and figure out how we can potentially build something that may be useful, or at least the starting stage for this restaurant ABC. Michael, may I ask, is there any questions right now in the chat as I flip over to Google Sheets here?
None so far, but yeah, please, I encourage everybody to, as Josh is going through the presentation and this workflow demo, yeah, feel free to ask any question and we'll make sure to get them answered live as they come up. So ask away, everybody.
All right. Unless there are any questions, then I will go ahead and share my Google spreadsheet here. Okay. And just confirming here, you're seeing the Google Sheet, correct?
Correct. Yep, we're good.
Excellent. So I'm going to try to play both fields here for those who are new customers or thinking about LiveFlow or just tuning in. What exactly is it? If you said, Josh, I'm interested in LiveFlow, under the extensions tab, there's something called LiveFlow for QuickBooks. Get started. And the quick overview here, as it's loading. What you'll find is this modal right here that pops up. What you're going to find here is a dropdown of all the QuickBooks files that you connected to LiveFlow. We have an array of customizations, having fixed dates, trailing windows, displaying the columns by month, etc., adding budgets and variants for a column. I'm not going to get into all the details here, as I think if you're a new customer, feel free to, and Michael's going to drop it into the chat, schedule some time and we'll go through the exact demo of all these components, but I just want to stay focused for our webinar. The way in which LiveFlow works is it connects to your QuickBooks. And what we're going to be able to do right now is actually create a standardized chart of accounts. The way I'm going to do that is I went over to this Consolidation tab, and I then select the company that I want to use this for. It says consolidation, but in reality, what we can do is a single entity rollup, which is what I'm going to do right here. And I'm going to begin by mapping the P&L. Now, the question is, what exactly am I doing and what am I trying to go for here? Well, the client has indicated to me that they're interested in prime cost. They want to look at their gross profit. They want to understand trends over time. How can I think about arranging this information so that it's actually useful and important to our client? And one of the things that's specific to the restaurant industry that I've learned so far is something called prime cost. And to my understanding, that's the cost of your labor and also the cost of your food and your beverages. But there may be other components too. But for the sake of our example, we'll say that that is what prime cost is. Or if you're in the construction industry, there may be specific metrics and specific indicators that you want to highlight. But I'm going to use that as an example. And so the first thing that I want to do is actually just categorize what are my food sales and what are my beverage sales. So that's what I'm actually going to do using our consolidation product to do so. What I have here is that specific QuickBooks file, and bear with me as this is actually a demo company and it has online sales, but we're just going to use the data to kind of create that ideal dashboard. So I'm just going to say that there's going to be beverage sales and food sales. So what I'm doing is creating my chart of accounts on this left side here, and all I need to do with LiveFlow is select the accounts and plop them into the corresponding folder. So pretty much I'm saying, okay, these amounts, I want you to put it into beverage sales. And for the food sales, that's just going to be, this line item here. Once again, for the sake of the example, we're just going to use that if that's all right with everybody. The next thing, of course, is when it comes to categorizing, I said that there's other components here or to prime cost. So I'm just going to say cost of beverage, cost of food, and cost of labor. Okay. And for this example, right, I'm going to simply click and put it into our folder. And there we go. So the right side here is what's flowing in from QuickBooks, right? And this is the data from this year. And so now what we're having here is, we're starting to map the accounts from QuickBooks into our custom chart of accounts. And I think once you see the consolidated report, you're going to be able to really see what we're actually able to display. What I want to do is I want to actually display this information by month because they want to show a little bit of trends over time. What we were mapping was the consolidated profit and loss, but actually it's a single entity, right? And then the date range, we're able to kind of modify any component we want to. What I'm going to do is actually, for the sake of just kind of showing you what the product can do, is I'm actually just going to create this year just so you can see it. This is what our report just created. This is able to show Jan 2024. We're able to see, okay, got it. Beverage sales and food sales. That's what we had mapped in that previous panel. And then we also have our cost of beverage, food, and labor. This is going to come into my prime cost essentially. But we're able to create that custom, standard P&L so that you don't have a bunch of line items that your client is looking at. But that is what you can do with this consolidation product. If it is the case that you had multiple entities, what you do essentially is you would add companies here, and then each of those vertical columns, there's going to be another company to the right of this, and you're able to select across and so forth. But if that's relevant for you, feel free to let me know. But that's what we were able to create, is something that looks like this. I mentioned that there's the drill down function, right? What you can do is actually just hover over this 180K. And if you're a new customer, you'll be able to see what happens now is we actually, as LiveFlow, go into your QuickBooks. We figure out what are the underlying transactions, and we then are able to show you right here, this is what restaurant ABC has to come up with that 180,000. Okay, great. Any questions so far in terms of the functionality? But otherwise, I'll kind of continue onwards with how we're going to help our restaurant client here. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to modify this report because our restaurant client the restaurant client will essentially want to see it over time, right? And Mike, was there a question in chat? I think I saw
Yeah,
it.
so Heather's asking, will it force you to make sure all accounts are matched so totals roll up accurately?
Got it. So what we could do, there's a workaround in the consolidation. We can actually mark it as an elimination account, right? So we could put essentially all the ones we don't want to map into a separate folder and then mark as elimination and then hide from the consolidated report, right? So that's the way that, so right here, you could hide eliminated accounts. And so that way it removes the ones that are unmapped if you wanted to do that. Great. Any other questions? Okay, cool. What I want to highlight here is, okay, they mentioned that they want to see prime cost, they want to do gross profit.
One more, Josh, sorry, we just
Yep.
want to make sure we can get to it before moving on. So how do you handle cases where entities are in different currencies?
Yes, of course. Great one. So if it is the case, I'm just going to do real quick, just because I do a lot of them, say test 15. You have multi-entity consolidation that you're able to, and then you can add multiple companies, right? And then specify what is the reporting currency you want to have there. If you want to have custom FX rates, you can also do that with our LiveFlow product. Anything else? Okay, we're back to our restaurant client here. I know we got 30 minutes, so we're going to do our best here. How can I make this scalable so that I need to do as little work as possible from 1 month to the next? One thing that we could do is, instead of doing this date range as fixed, how about we do a trailing window? And because we want to see let's see what that does for us first. I'm going to hit update and refresh report. Okay, now what I have is the past 12 months. This is actually pretty good. So what happens now is, once June comes around, May is going to get knocked off, and we're going to add June or May 2024 into the next column without me doing anything. And so I want to highlight that because that comes pretty helpful later on. But we're beginning to see how we can make things a little bit more dynamic or scalable. The client mentioned they want to see year over year. So if it was, May 2024 or April 2024, I want to see April 2023 and May 2024, just so I can have an apples to apples comparison. Maybe there's cyclicality in the business. So I'm just going to rate 13 months as a trailing window, so that we can actually have full data set. And let's see what that brings us here. Okay, great. So now we have April 2023 and we've got April 2024. And now I'm starting to see, okay, maybe if I do the correct referencing, I can now create a dashboard that is very dynamic and scalable. So once again, all these numbers are being refreshed every single hour automatically based on what is in your QuickBooks file. The next thing that I want to do here is create a data validation tab. And I apologize if you're an existing customer, you've already seen me do this about 100 times, but anytime there's a premium template, you probably see this as well, it just helps us get it organized. Data validation. And this goes back to that second rule, how can I make it idiot-proof? Part of this is because you don't know who's going to be touching your model. And you want to make sure that if there's a drop-down menu, whatever it is, there's one source of truth. And that's what I look at, which is the data validation. The named ranges is something that I said that LiveFlow has. And you may be wondering, what do you mean by named ranges? Well, what we could do actually with named ranges is LiveFlow, our engineers, people way smarter than I am, they created, or is it data named ranges? You'll see that some things begin to get highlighted by green. That is referring to specific information, right? So this one right here, consolidated profit and loss column labels, is referring to all the months. And so if I start to change or add a month here and there, what's going to happen is this is going to be captured in that named range. And so for the templates that I create, I actually use the LiveFlow named ranges more often than not, because I know that they're less or I know that it's being covered, right? If I named a range, for instance, if I hard coded, right, the name range to this, right, to L9, but then the next month I decide I want to add another month to it and say 14 trailing months, well, it's not going to get captured. And I need to remember that I made that adjustment. Why do I bring that up? Once again, this is more of a tech and automation, so I'm not going to get into all of it, but essentially what it allows me to do is index, transpose, index, consolidated, profit and loss, column labels, and let's take a look what that makes. Okay, got it. It's displaying the months by column, right? Instead of that, I want to just make this nice and clean and tidy. So I'm just going to flip this. And now we've got the months going down. And if we added a month, right, in our LiveFlow report, it's now going to be displayed here. And then also here, I'm going to actually bring in our row labels because I'm going to reference that in the end. So consolidated row labels. Oh. Now, if you're wondering, I'm not familiar with these formulas and so forth. If you're a new customer, part of this is during the onboarding sessions. This is where I walk you through it personally and answer any questions that you may have on this regard.
Josh, have a question right now, actually.
Yep.
So perfect. How can you change named ranges that are in LiveFlow templates? And this is from Susan. Her experience is that you can edit them, however, they revert back with the next LiveFlow update.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I have to kind of look at it on that specific workbook because what we're essentially doing is we're going back into your QuickBooks. We're figuring out what are the accounts there and incorporating that into the named range. As soon as you start to alter that, you would encounter the issue that you're referring to, like inserting a custom account or whatever it may be. But there may be some other workarounds that we could think through. But that's kind of the beauty of spreadsheets, maybe it's outside the named range that you created. But yeah, I would have to take it by case on that one. Great. Yeah, I mean, the reason, once again, why named ranges are helpful for me, at least, is as once the LiveFlow report changes, then I know the named range is going to change. That means my data validation is going to change correspondingly. Okay, that's pretty much the information I want. And I'm going to create 2 additional sheets here. Once again, our goal is to create a monthly reporting package that's scalable for our restaurant clients. And for the sake of our time, I'm just going to create like the beginning steps of it, right? But we've noticed that visuals are very helpful with our clients. So I'm going to see if I can incorporate that as well. But let's just say we're going to create our monthly dash. So monthly dash. And we've got our input tab. Okay, so the input tab is where I'm going to call it the back end, right? Where you're able to adjust things here and there. And then the monthly dash is where we're able to kind of create what we want our client to see, right? Because otherwise, they're going to see something like this, which could be helpful, right? But what they're interested in is, as we've noted in that scenario, they're interested in prime cost, they said, and maybe I'll write that down here. They're interested in prime costs. They're interested in gross profit. There is in total income, trends over time, past year and year over year. Okay, let's see what we can do, and we can build something. Hopefully that's scalable. So the first thing that I want to do is this prime cost. I'm a little bit less familiar here, but it looks like we're going to have to add a few different components. So how can we do that? Well, what we could do is we can create a dropdown, and this is part of making it so that whoever is using it, that there's minimal things that can be broken as possible. So let's see here. So format. We're going to add a data validation, and what I'm going to do is I want to show them what are the key things that they want to highlight in that monthly report. So I'm actually going to just go here, data validation. And what I'm going to do actually, and this is one part of automating and making sure that it's scalable, is this is what I would say, if I selected just this would be good and would work, and our dropdown would have all the information displayed. But if I want to make this scalable so that even if there were, let's just say if we wanted to add another line item here that's total expenses, well, that means that we're going to get cut off by accident, right? We're going to get this amount of information selected. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to select all the way down, so that all the way till B1000, as long as we're not hitting over 1,000 accounts, we're going to have no issue in terms of capturing that in the drop-down menu. So the first thing that I want to do is, okay, prime cost, got it. What is prime cost? Right, so we've got our cost of, actually, let me just extend this out to, that's not it. What did we do here? Sometimes when you play with spreadsheets, this is what happens. But let me just go back and delete that. Data validation, ball. Okay, and drop down from range. I'm just redoing that, and feel free. But essentially, what we're trying to do here is create a report in which we can create or understand prime cost, and then also on top of that, kind of make this a little bit more user friendly for our client who's not really looking at it on a month-to-month, or sorry, on a P&L level. So what I can do now here, right, is actually give our components of prime cost. So I'm actually going to say the cost of beverage, the cost of food, and the cost of labor. Okay, so what we're doing here is now everything that we've categorized as cost of beverage, cost of food, and cost of labor, I want to be able to populate the information in our input tab here. So what we can do here now is I'm just going to actually refer to the month in our data validation. And if we made this dynamic, I mean, there's a few different ways we could do it, but I want to actually, since it's always going to be trailing months, trailing, I'm going to keep it as April 2024, right? And I'm going to say that how did that compare to the previous month? Well, I could actually just do this, right? And then I also want to understand how did it do from last year. So now we've got this. So our end objective here is to now get the information from April 2024 for cost of beverage into cell B9 and so forth. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and make an index match formula. So index, consolidated profit and loss, contents, right? And then the row label, what we're going to do is a match. And once again, if you're not familiar with this, that is A-OK. We will work through this on an onboarding call if that is the case, right? We're going to lock that. And then we're going to do consolidated profit and loss row labels. And this is where the named ranges are really helpful because it allows you to create this very, very quickly and efficiently. And I'm just going to lock that cell, consolidated profit and loss, column labels, right? And 0, 0, there we go. Okay, so what we did there is now we are now bringing the information from our consolidated profit and loss to here. And why this is helpful is once May comes around, May is going to be populated here, and April is going to be populated here, and May 2023 is now going to be populated here. But the goal here was to actually create a prime cost. And all we're doing here is now taking a sum of these. And once we did that, we've now got our prime cost. And that's going to dynamically update every single month. And anytime information from QuickBooks is put in, it's going to feed into this sheet. Right? They also said that total income was something that they wanted. So I'm just going to, what was it, total income and also gross profit. Right? So actually just all I have to do, so I did this right, is now it's just referencing for each of these months, right? What is happening in terms of total income and so forth. Okay, now that I've got this information, the key thing that I'm glad I got was the prime cost. Now, how can I make this useful for our clients? Well, what we could do is actually create a scoreboard chart. So this is something, view, grid lines, okay. I'm conscious of time here. So what I'm going to do is insert chart. And where is it? Here we go. Oh. There it is. Okay, so the key value is what is the value you want your client to see, right? The key value is I want them to see the prime cost, okay? And the baseline value. Oh. I think my audio got cut off there, but all right. So in terms of how we're going to fix this, right, is we've got to then select this prime cost. I believe this will work here. Okay. Right. So we could do something like this. We can make some modifications in terms of what the actual amount looks like, right? The only thing that I want to see if we could do, but you know what, for the sake of our time, right? Essentially what I'm going to start doing here is create something like this, right? Except this time I'm going to say gross profit. Right, and then what we could do is we could highlight this, insert chart. You can start to create dashboards that are covering different metrics, right? So prime cost is one of them, right? But we also want to show our others as well, right? So we're going to add another range or replace this range with our input tab here. And we're going to say, actually, I want to actually specify the gross profit as well, right? And then we can say total income, right? Did we do that? Total income as well, right? Total. Great. Excellent. Now you must be wondering, wait a second, what about that 410,000? That we just need to modify in the underlying scorecard chart, right? The way we do that, just give me 1 second here, is instead the key value here. Great, so now we start to have the information for each one of these corresponding amounts, right? And this time around for the total income, it's referring to that specific amount, right? The other thing that I wanted to kind of showcase here, and as I know we're approaching on time, is the trends over time. So one of the things we can do is index, right? Consolidated profit and loss column labels. And that gives us all the different months, right? And what we could do is instead of having April, appear twice, what we can now say is actually, you know what I want to do is I want to have index this, but I also want to take out that last or that first April. So filter. That's column labels. Great. And then what we want to do is index. And this is what we want to take out, consolidated profit and loss, column labels. And we're going to say April 2023. We want to make this dynamic, right? It should be that if we selected this, great. So now what's happened is now we have May 2023 all the way to April 2024. And now what we can do is actually select the same information, right? And let's just say they want to understand our prime cost over time. Or to keep our example kind of brief here, right? We can use gross profit as well. And we could use the same exact formula and apply it across here. So let's see what happens here. When we apply it, well, that's referring to the wrong row label. So all we got to do is change that to row 28. Well, sometimes it's just easier to just do it over again. Index, consolidated profit and loss contents. Then we're going to look for total income. We're going to match. We're going to look for it in the row labels. We're going to close that out. Then we're going to match. And we're going to look for this specific month in the consolidated profit and loss column labels. Do an exact match. and I'm going to lock this specific column, and I'm also going to lock this specific a row, right? And so if we did this right, now we've got a formula that's working here, and we can copy that down. Okay, so now we've got information on how did our total income and gross profit do. We could obviously change this to prime cost as well, but the difference here is we would need to pull in this information for the corresponding months and then do something similar. But now if I want to understand the trends over time, right, that our client was looking for, we can insert a chart. And I would argue here is what is it that we're trying to display? Well, we're trying to compare our total income compared to our gross profit, right? So what we can change instead of an area chart, I think a double bar chart here makes the most sense. So now if we take this and we copy the chart and we bring it over to our dashboard, we're starting to see the beginnings of what we can create with our product here. I'm going to pause there because of the timing component of it. But what we begin to do is create a dashboard that is very scalable. What you'll notice, and what the key component here is that once you start to change and once the information begins to update within our QuickBooks file, what's going to then naturally happen is our data validation is going to change so that there's now May 2024 or May 2023, and kind of going subsequently, our inputs tab is going to change, and then therefore our charts are going to be changing as well. And so once you've created that ideal dashboard, all you need to do is give your client that viewer permission so that they can actually see, okay, once that data is there, it's actually going to just populate into the charts, right? And I think that's kind of one of the core beauties of LiveFlow is that once you've created that dashboard for yourself, that's where it becomes extremely, extremely useful. What I wanted to show you, because of the timing component, is what happens if we spent a few hours in building the exact dashboard you wanted to. What I'll show you is the final product of actually what our FP&A specialist built, and that is the ideal dashboard for that client. So let me go ahead and share that. All right, so what you should be able to see right now is pretty much what we just did on steroids. That was what we did in 15 minutes, but if you gave us a few hours, right, and we really figured out what exactly we wanted to showcase to our clients, right, we're able to get just a little bit more fancier with our charts. We're able to say, okay, here's our prime cost, right, this week, last week. Now, once again, restaurants, they're, a week to week, or, 445 or 455 accounting, whatever it is. And so we display that information as well. And with our reporting tool, you're able to actually have that weekly reporting that you may not have in other softwares. And so on summarize profit and loss, right, with our consolidation product or standardized chart of accounts product, what you're able to do then is be able to group certain accounts within your QuickBooks files into one sub account. And then you can actually, what I would call, simplify the P&L statement for somebody who's not really looking into all the individual accounts that maybe you as an accountant may be familiar with and may need to know. So I'll pause there and see if there's any questions with regards to what the eventual dashboard you can create is. But the most important part is if you can envision it and you can envision building it in a spreadsheet, you probably could. It's just a matter of how much effort you want to put into building that customized dashboard. Is there any questions that we have?
Yeah, any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Or if you can ask live, feel free. I believe we have that set up, but if not, yeah, let us know in the chat.
Perfect. The other component that I want to show you here is what happens if you created that ideal dashboard.
We have one question
Oh, yeah.
here from Jordan, Josh. So how does it engage with classes in QBO as opposed to accounts?
Yeah, so right now in our consolidation product, so it depends, right? So if it's in your single report, if you're looking at just a single entity, you're able to filter by class, and you can also display the columns instead of by week or by month. You can actually have it by class. That goes also for location, customers, etc. And if you're a new user, then you're able to kind of see all the different functionalities of it. But for the consolidation product itself, in terms of what we were able to group, We also have class enabled so that you can actually filter by certain classes for a particular QuickBooks file and make those groupings as well. Perfect. Michael, any other questions?
None so far, but yeah, well, please, anyone, if you have any, drop them in the chat. We'll make sure to get those answered ASAP. Oh, here we go. So, can you run a P&L by product or service?
By product or service? It's a good question here. Let me share my screen and then maybe we could, by product or service, I know we could filter it, I believe. Yeah, so we can filter by product or service. Right, and then in terms of, and we can actually, yeah, display columns by as well. So here, let me just show you very quickly what I mean by this. Once again, this is our demo company. But, previously in our example, we had it by month. But if we want to say, actually, I want to see it by customer, I want to see it by class in this location, if I want to see it by product or service, or if I want to filter by a certain customer account, we're able to do so. And once I create report, what you'll notice is that the columns are now by product and service. Once again, with our demo company, there's not much information, but you are able to do that. If there's no other question, the one thing I want to show lastly is that scaling component. Let's say we build that ideal dashboard. We have some here, and this one's a premium template. But let's say you built exactly what you wanted. How can I create this now so I don't need to recreate the wheel for another client? Because that is the last part of our scenario, was that we create that dashboard, right? Unfortunately, because of time, there was like some limitation in certain terms of how much we were able to build. But nonetheless, you get the idea of what you can do with LiveFlow. The next element is how can I scale it? And all we need to do is we just need to go to LiveFlow for QuickBooks, get started. And right now, you'll notice that this is for Demo Acme Inc. as our sample company. One of the core features of LiveFlow is this swap company functionality. And so we've seen some of our clients who build out ideal dashboard for their clients that don't look like any one of our templates. And then what they do is they use this swap company function so that they can now replicate it for their next 100. So now we're just going to select the other company we want to create this dashboard for. And depending on the data, if there's enough data, right, there may be some blanks, but nonetheless, you're then going to be able to see how all this information then dynamically changes. So here, so now the dashboard now says Acme US, and this one just doesn't have any data for it. But you get the idea in terms of what you can do with LiveFlow and that swap function, ability. Great. Any other questions before I go on to this last two slides here?
None so far. Okay,
great. Give me 1 second here as I pull up the last few slides here. Okay, yeah, the last thing that I just wanted to cover is when it comes to whoever you are, an existing customer or a new customer. Some of these products, if you were an existing customer, you're like, oh, that seems interesting. I could probably use it here, and I'd love to learn more. We have a special offer for that, and we also have a special offer for those who are new customers. So we'll begin actually in the order of the slide that I had. For our new customers, what we can offer you if you sign up in May, and Michael, if you don't mind just dropping my link in the chat in terms of getting you onboarded to LiveFlow, is we can offer you an additional 3 QuickBooks files for free. And so you save about $800 over the next year, and 3 premium templates. So that restaurant template, for instance, was one of the templates, but we've got several other premium templates as well. And then if you're on the Teams plan, we'll give you 5 additional QBO files for free, and you unlock all the premium templates. What I can guarantee here is for anybody who's on the call right now is that I can guide you through this process, and also when it comes to the onboarding. So we actually spend an hour together figuring out what is it exactly that your client's trying to build. And then we can create that ideal dashboard, or at least get started, so that you know how we can kind of move forward. So feel free to schedule some time. I'd love to speak with you and understand what your use cases are. Once again, it's $481 paid annually or $1,100 paid annually, and that's what we can do at LiveFlow for those who sign up in May. For existing customers, If you saw consolidation, where you're able to actually use that product to consolidate across multiple entities, we didn't get to do that on this call, but we can easily do so, and I'm happy to do that on the call. Or you want to use it for a single entity, which is what we did when we started to categorize by cost of sales and cost of beverages and cost of food. That is a single entity rollup, and that is not, consolidation in its use case, but it allows you to categorize and simplify that P&L, balance sheet, or cash flow statement. We'll offer you 20% off, and the pricing is dependent on the number of QuickBooks files that you have within your plan or are looking to use the product for. So in either of those cases, would love to kind of speak with you and understand how you're thinking about automating some of the workflows that you have. Like I said prior, I guess in my example of the Men's Warehouse and the Enzo Suit Supply. Listen, there are a lot of different softwares out there, and if you're the right person, you do that evaluation, and there may be a premium to having that support and so forth. But I'd like to argue that none of our customers after the onboarding sessions are like, "Wow, I thought I would get more from that." And so I would be thrilled to kind of work with you and make sure that we're making sure that we're helping you scale your practice. But with that 159, hopefully I didn't go too much. Would love to have other conversations where you're actually doing more of the talking than I am. But I'll pause there to see if there's any last questions, and pass it back to you, Michael.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, everybody. This was a really great session. Again, if you have any questions, if you want to speak with Josh, if you're looking to become a customer, if you're looking to take advantage of some of these existing customer deals, the links are in the chat. Feel free to reach out directly to him as well. I dropped his email in there as well, josh@liveflow.io, very simple. Shoot him a line. Yeah, we'll also be in touch with the recording after this. But again, thank you so much, everyone. This was fantastic. We hope to see you at the next LiveFlow webinar here soon. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Take care.